Get me to 1,000 subs so I can live stream. At 1,000, I will mail out hand sanitizer. Click the links to support the channel, mail me comics, or send me art. Feel free to post links to your project in the comments below. If you want me to take a shot at editing your comics, send it in and I will take a look at it and make a video about it. I was giddy with excitement when I came across Resistance 2020. The title alone is a good indicator of Trump derangement syndrome. You would think that the title is a bit obvious, but SJWs do not do subtlety. They hashtag resist in their Twitter to virtue signal, but I'm not sure what they are resisting. Until the Budweiser sickness, the economy was doing great. You can't really blame the not Japan sickness on Trump. 90% of sickness comes out of not Japan because they are filthy, filthy whores. Let me give the summary of this, then read the stupidity at the end. The comic is sort of like Ignited. A traumatic event wipes out a lot of people, but it gives some people superpowers. Fair enough, sounds like it could be a fun story, except you need to be a noticer and start noticing. Who are the people portrayed in a negative and positive light? Who is selfish? Who is generous? Who is moral and ethical? Okay, here's how it works. Comics want to include a lot of, let me get to the scene I'm talking about, there it is, a lot of quote-unquote diversity, but comics have to have protagonists and antagonists, so it's not even as if they seek out to F blonde man, it's just that they can't ever portray a brown person in a negative light. So literally every single evil, petty, malicious person, sneeze break, I don't have Corona Chan, but I do have allergies. I've had allergies for forever, so I've been hacking and sneezing and coughing for years. People see me, they probably think I'm dying. No, I just have allergies and a dog who sleep in bed. So, you know, it is what it is. Where's I going with this? I'm not done, I promise. So, when you see a brown person, it's going to be in a more positive light. If you read 100 comics, set up a chart, the correlation is 99%. Comic books is the only place where you're going to see blonde gangs or red-haired home invaders or terrorists. It's also tiresome. It's only in comics that you will see roving gangs of blonde looters, because that is what you saw in Hurricane Katrina. Oh, no, actually, you didn't. You have to notice the little things in comics. In one panel, they show a blonde woman jumping off a roof. In the next, they show a black family sacrificing themselves to pass on with their daughter. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but it all adds up. Their daughter's in quarantine. She's wrong. There is something we can do. Yeah, there is. They kiss. They break quarantine. We love you, baby, so much. You're not alone, never alone. So they go in there to pass on with her. Where in the earlier scene, you had the blonde chick pretending she was in a Middle Eastern country. Cool. Subtle stuff. And there's a 6-panel scene. Let me get to it. This is the Russian. Oh, hey, look. Little blonde girl expiring this mortal coil due to the WuFlu boogaloo. Scenes like this, these guys, they write this stuff and they draw this stuff and they think they're just so stunning and brave, and it's just cringe. And why is his arm way out of proportion? Huddled, yearning, angry masses struggling to be free. Am I right? There's so much I could say about that little quote, but I want to stay on YouTube for a little bit longer. This was a surprise. 2 hot, sexy lesbians. You don't see that in comics too often, so I don't know how they snuck by the editing. I'll get to the 6-panel scene. Hold on. Okay, you got this 6-panel scene where you get 6 different points of view. The European characters are raving, panicked lunatics. The female and African characters are the voice of reason. And once you start noticing this stuff, you can never go back to sleep. Then we get to the cringe apocalypse, where a billionaire, Stefan Mock, you guys are subtle, got elected to the executive. He's mostly bald, but you can assume that is blonde hair. This is peak blonde man bad. The blonde new president, who totally is not Trump, but also seems to really hate Mexicans. Really, really subtle. They accuse you of what they do. There is a good guy, the defense intelligence officer, who has, what's his name, Jeff Hasberg, so totally not Trump, pulls a Hillary Clinton and takes care of him. Because he dared to say, Mr. President, you've seen the briefings. You know that none of these measures would have had any impact on what happened. On what was found that day in the New Mexican desert, the threat came out of the sky, not from across the border. Oh, you guys are just as subtle as a tractor. So, good guy Hasberg is the voice of reason. He's trying to keep totally not Trump from this path of evil, and totally not Trump pulls a Hillary Clinton on him. Wasn't there a guy whose last name was Rich? I think his first name was Seth, who departed himself from this mortal coil during a botched robbery, quote unquote, shot in the back, but nothing was taken. Don't the Clintons actually have a body count following them? Aren't there like 200 or 300 people who got on the wrong side of the Clintons and they just took care of themselves? Yeah, there are. There actually are. But whatever, logic. Logic is just going to... Anyway, so you got these superheroes who are going to hashtag resist Trump. These disabled bundles of sticks are as subtle as dynamite. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, you notice. Keep noticing. I don't know if you know what the glowing eye means. It is a meme. It means you just keep noticing. Then we get to the explanation at the back of the book. If this guy was any further up his own ass, he'd come out his mouth. Comic people seem to have the most overinflated sense of importance. I am sure he will be proud of his stunning and brave comic where he bashes Trump, except everyone bashes Trump. If you really had any balls, you'd go after Muslim fundamentalists. Why do these soy boys think they are so edgy attacking Trump? Were they attacking Obama? Nope, they avoided that little issue. They just seemed to ignore the half-African president who put Mexican kids in cages and had a plucky habit of drone-striking children because these comic book people are huge bleeding pussies. Not our comic book people. Our comic book people are cool. I'm going to read some of this. On the morning of June 4th, this guy, okay, pretend I'm reading it in his smarmy accent. I can't do it for the whole thing. On the morning of June 4th, a mysterious email arrived in my inbox. It was from Axel Alonso. Wow, what happened to him? 2 sentences. I'd love to catch up. Let's have a chat. Now, Axel's a nice guy, a lovely guy, a snappy dresser, and I'm told a good dancer. But nobody ever comes by the house to catch up and tell me what they're up to. All this should be edited out. One does simply not walk into Mordor. It's a thing. Look it up. So I knew something was up. Hey, last time I worked with Axel was during my 6-year run of Spider. Blah, blah, blah. Axel's one of the best and most highly regarded editors in the comic. Well, he didn't edit this because this should all be excised. When it comes to working with writers, artists, and the legion of other folks involved in producing these books, he knows the creative folk are like feral cats. We are cute and fuzzy from a distance, but inside our heads we're running all kinds of tapes that you have no idea even existed until you put your hand out too fast and it comes back a bloody stump. Well, that got dark. We all have rules of engagement. Mine is simple. Don't touch my stuff or I'll kill you. It's not that my stuff is better than anybody else's. It's just that it's mine and it has my name on it. And I'm not kidding about killing you. Really, I've got bodies in my backyard. Fucking nutter. It's just the way I want it, so don't touch my freaking stuff. Okay, so we met up. I was eager to learn. He explained, former Marvel Punisher has started a new company called AWA for artists, writers, and artisans. That's an unfortunate alliteration. I think I would have got rid of that last one. Because I guess artists, writers, and astronauts was already taken. And together, they were quietly lining up some of the best and brightest people in the business to come in. So what were they calling you for? Listed included all these other assholes. Okay, so he called him because he's a world builder. This is what you do. If anyone can figure out this new Axel Alonso universe, you're the guy. We talked about the need to write something that would speak to our current paradigm as a society. Who do you think and what do you think he's talking about there? Just as the early DC books spoke to a post-WW2 environment that was about the role of government and authorities as heroes, and the Marvel books, blah, blah, blah. Okay, World War II. Okay, you're talking about real stuff here. And you are comparing yourself to people who, to Trump derangement syndrome. You're saying it's since Trump is like literally the Austrian corporal, it's you guys are doing the Lord's work here in fighting fascism. Except you're not, because Trump is not a fascist. He's not even a Republican. He's just a moderate Democrat. Okay, so this is what they're writing. They're writing anti-Trump propaganda. How well do you think this is going to sell? Well, we'll find out very shortly. So out of all these discussions came the Axelverse. Well, I call it the Axelverse, partly because Axel was a prime mover in reaching out. It's his and blah, blah, blah company. Maybe he hates it when I call it the Axel. Yeah, you just go on and on. None of this is funny. So nobody reading this should call it that either. Seriously, if you see him at a convention and you ask about the books, don't call it the Axelverse. That would be a terrible thing to do. So I would never, ever suggest it. The joke went on. None of this is necessary. The story would be told on a planetary scale, and since there are very few things that can affect everyone on the planet without destroying it, we agreed was a pandemic, which by weird quirk of fate has resonance in the current coronavirus situation. The virus caused the death of over 400 million people worldwide. Thanks, globalists. Hey, thanks, globalists. Yeah, that was you guys. That was you guys. No borders, man. I don't believe in borders. Well, Japan has borders. So does Israel. Can those countries have borders? But the rest, does Saudi Arabia have borders? In fact, does the Middle East have borders? Can you go to Africa and can you go to Mexico? You know what? Can you go to Mexico and buy property if you're not Mexican? Do you need to show ID in Mexico to vote? Does Mexico have a southern fence to keep out those filthy Guatemalans that they hate so much? These people are the worst people. I won't say, I hope they're not, the 400 million people nowadays, the estimates of 70% infection with a 3% casualty rate comes out to 147 million people. That's 7 billion current population. That number is probably going to be much higher because the hospitals will be at max in a couple of weeks. And once they're at max, anything over that flood is just, can't go to the hospital if there's no beds for you. There's no ventilators. So, we're talking millions of people who suddenly find themselves with powers are spread through every social class and caste. See, this is the thing about these Marxists is the Democrats and Republicans. It used to be the rich versus the poor, but I guess the Frankfurt School, these Marxists, they came out and they said, that's not working because we're the rich. So what we'll do is we'll do class-based warfare. And somewhere in the 90s, I guess with Clinton and the NAFTA and stuff, he abandoned the blue-collar Democrats, and they started to shift to the Mexicans. They realized, we can just open the borders to Mexico. Those are all our voters right there. So now they wanted to shift it from the wealthy versus the poor, which is what it should be, the bourgeoisie versus the proletariat. No, now it's white versus brown. There's a lot more to it than this, but I'm already at 14 minutes. Anyway, so this guy is just as far up his own ass as you can possibly be. If you were a nice person before fame and money, how would you react to how governments and churches and corporations? What about synagogues and mosques? It's funny, they never talk about those things. It's weird. It's really strange. North Korea has borders, and they don't have any Wuhan boogaloo. Okay. So if you're a dictator presiding over a beaten, repressed population, suddenly there are several thousand people among them powerful enough to destroy your entire army and yank the spine out of your dead body just for kicks. But you have no intention of surrendering power. What do? Obviously, you're talking about Trump, you freaking weirdo. If you're president and you want to try and get your hands around the problems, even if that means abridging civil rights, how far are you prepared to go? Oh, sweet dear Lord, heaven, stop with your Trump derangement syndrome. This is insane. That, in short, is the Axelverse. Just whatever you do, don't call it that around Axel. I got enough problem. Oh, God, help me. right, guys, like, comment, subscribe. If you want to send me email, biancazombie602@gmail.com. You can hit up my P.O. box. If you want to send me comic books to read during the apocalypse, make sure you cough on them. Spread that Budweiser chant. All right, guys, I will see you all next episode.